Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Square Ball. It's a brand new GA podcast with thanks to William Hill, hosted by myself, Dave McIntyre, and by Lee Keegan. Lee, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Dave. It's good to be here.
You retired 2 years ago and you immediately dipped your toe into the punditry business. We've been watching in the Sunday game for the last year, and now you're gone further onto the dark side and you're stepping into the podcast arena.
Yeah, I'm leaving myself wide open, I think, since I retired. It's something I always kind of been interested in. I dipped in a bit of it when I was playing in 18, then did a bit again after that. And when the retirement came, RT said, would you be interested in doing a bit? Very hard to replace some of the old school type of guys that were there. But enjoying it. Love going to games, really enjoy going to games, seeing how teams set up, how teams play. And you know, it's nice to get away from the whole Mayo thing sometimes and see how other teams operate, because when you're in the bubble of playing inter-county for 11, 12 years, nothing else really matters. So you get to see the other side and how other teams work, and that's the kind of side I really enjoy, and how teams approach games and go about their business. So enjoying it, whether I'm good or not, that remains to be seen, but I'll keep at it anyway for another while.
Yeah, look, I don't think they would have given you a year two if you weren't. Over the course of the summer, myself and Lee are going to be chatting to some of the best players to play football and hurling in recent years and really dig into their careers and some of the controversies that surrounded them as well. You said there, look, it's nice to sometimes get away from the Mayo thing. We're not going to let you do that for too long, and we're definitely going to go right deep into the whole Mayo situation, because as someone who's been a GA fan, a player, a commentator for so many years, like, there are few stories in GA that are more gripping, more fascinating, more mythical than the Mayo situation. And we'll have a couple of episodes maybe devoted to that over the next few weeks. But
I can't wait.
Before we get into our first guest, which I really looking forward to, year one, I'd say, was really tough. Was it, like, on the sidelines looking at, even though you were able to stay in the game from a media point of view? I wonder how different 2024 feels in comparison.
Year one, yeah, it was disappointing, but for a lot of us, it was our first real experience at that level. Like in 11, we played in the All-Ireland semi against Kerry, and we got a good schooling in terms of that level where you have to get to and where to compete against. And in 12, 12 was probably, there's a bit of luck element too. It wasn't something we discussed really in detail that year, but we kind of went on a bit of a crusade. And when we pipped Dublin in the 12 semi, that brought us to new heights. I just don't think we were ready then for the new game plan that Jimmy and Donegal brought. If you look at Mayo probably and most teams that era, we were very much gun-ho, man-a-man, you versus your guy, you win that duel and that was it. Where Donegal brought this crazy abandonment to defensive structure, so we just weren't ready for that, and that kind of told the tale in 12. But probably what really did stand to us, we were very competitive in that game after the first two goals went in, and ultimately we were probably nearly the better team, but just didn't do enough to get the goals in it, and Donegal, deserved to win the game, and we moved into 13 then, and expectation became higher because we had a group of players all of a sudden that got first-hand experience at that level, and we probably didn't foresee what was going to come in the next 7, 8, 9 years, that we probably played the greatest team that ever played the sport in terms of Dublin and what they did. And we went on a crusade of a duel with them for so long, but just again, just couldn't pip them. Tried, and it really did become an obsession for a lot of us, because we wanted to do it. Like, Connacht didn't become enough anymore. Leagues weren't enough. It was the All-Ireland, and that's what we wanted. And not just the All-Ireland, we wanted to beat Dublin in one, and it really did become an obsession with that group in particular, under James, under Rachi, even Holmes and Kennelly. We want to beat Dublin in the All-Ireland final.
You see, you weren't the only Mayo group in recent memory that kind of got dragged into that sort of an obsession. Like, there would have been guys who played in the 89, 96 and 97 finals, like Liam McHale, for example. There would have been guys who played in the night, like Kieran MacDonald played in 97, 04 and 06. You played in 7 of them.
The difference, though, Dave, I did say this to you, is that they're one-offs. We consistently did it for 10 years.
In terms of that Mayo team being a great Mayo team. Yeah. But I'm sure if you speak to the likes of Kieran MacDonald and Liam McHale, they were just as obsessed with winning, Sam, as you guys were. But the point I wanted to make to you was, like, I've spoken to guys before who would be familiar with Mayo players from that 1989 team and then the 90s team. And there would be a couple amongst them that took those defeats really hard and carried those defeats around with them. Not maybe necessarily in their everyday lives, but like it was There was a little shadow in the room that was always there, even into their 40s. And I just wonder, where are you personally? Because you played 7 All-Irelands and didn't win any.
Honestly, I sleep well at night. I don't stew over it. I don't have regrets about them. For me, anyway, personally, I feel that
They never come into your head.
not really. I don't like. I see life bigger than football. You see, and I'm a very black or white guy in terms of, if we were good enough, we would have won it, and I still maintain that. And we had good enough teams to win it, but we didn't do enough to win it. Where I think other guys potentially probably did carry a lot of burden for years and potentially still do. Like, you don't lose that many finals and don't have some scar tissue in the back of your mind and not think about them. Even playing in the current group now, I still think some guys may overthink that a little bit, and maybe that's why we didn't cross the line. But for myself personally, I just love the journey of it. I like, you know, it sounds simple, like, if I won All Ireland, would have made me feel better or more accomplished? Not really. That's been totally straight with you. I feel that for the 11 years I played in Mayo, I was able to compete at the absolute peak of what I could give. And for me, if I can't be satisfied with that, then I don't know what to say, really, because I don't think any medal can you can hang it over me and say you didn't win All Ireland. But for me, that body work just makes me very proud of what I did for that length of time. Because when I first came in, I didn't think I was even good enough to play football. Never mind being able to compete against some of the best players that ever played the game. So for me, no. For other guys, I would probably say, yeah, definitely.
I remember Joe Brawley talking about the 1993 All-Ireland final. And after the euphoria of the full-time whistle, the day they beat Cork, they get into the dressing room in the Old Crow Park, of course, and almost immediately a realisation had set in with him that, like, is this what it was all about? Is this all there is to it? Like, we've dreamt our whole lives. We've just become the first team from the county to win an All-Ireland. And there was almost an immediate sense of anticlimax. Do you ever wonder what it would have been like to win an All-Ireland medal? For that full-time whistle to go and for you guys to have exercised the demons of 51?
Listen, it has crossed my mind that would be a total lie. I didn't say what it would have felt like. As well, I think... I don't think the obsession will be ever there again. I think that'll always be there till we do in it. But yeah, if you're an elite sportsman, if you don't have those thoughts about what it would feel to win it, and the killer for us is we've seen enough teams do it and what it meant to them and the way they celebrate it. And that's something that kind of might irk at you a little bit, to say that, geez, I would have loved to have about that. That little pot of gold. That's, you know, what I love, James Horan used to say, there's only a few moments after games, in any game, is that maybe 15 minutes after the game, you sit there as a group and you look around and you appreciate that time. And that's, I would have loved that feeling of sitting in the green room in Crow Park with the cup there and say, do you know what, we've ticked the box. Irrespective of the celebration that would have went at home, that I think that gets carried away in itself. And I've heard Donegal from the 92 team and even the 12 team that nearly takes on its own kind of life a little bit. And for me, that it's just that sense of togetherness when you're there in the moment as that group and you look around, you said, you know what, I mightn't see you again for 5, 10, 15 years, but when I do...
specific group may never be in the same room together ever again.
But if I see you then in the street, I mightn't like you, but I know what we did together.
Yeah.
And I still have that with them. That I'm not saying that, but I always would have thought that moment, if we had ticked that box and got that medal, I would have just looked at them and said, you know what, we would have sat there and we did what we did, but ultimately we didn't, and that's where we are.
I'll be honest with you, like, cards on the table, when you say that you never think about not winning those All-Irelands, I don't believe you.
That's fair enough. Okay. You can ask anyone.
Yeah.
But I'm very straight.
Personally, I don't believe you, because I just can't imagine. And then, look, I'm speaking as the hurler on the ditch, someone who never achieved anything in the sports field, speaking to arguably the greatest player never to win an All-Ireland, speaking to someone who has done so many things, 7 Connacht medals, footballer of the year, international rules.
But they're the stuff. They're the good stuff. So by me saying, like, if I was to look at life and say, if I just solely thought about not winning All Ireland, and
not saying you think about it every day.
No, but I don't have to. I've a young family. I used to love getting away.
Is that key though? Like,
for
the
me,
perspective you have. You've
Yeah.
got a wife and kids. You've another one on the way. Like, maybe guys your age who are just out of retirement and don't have that sort of grounding and all the distractions that being a dad brings. You just don't have time to think about it.
I didn't have time, but I when I played, I made sure I didn't have time to think about it either.
Okay.
Because that's where the flip side of that obsession comes. It becomes too obsessive. And the reason I was able to perform, and this is me, and I'm not a cocky person or confident person like that. When I worked hard enough, I knew I was good enough. Working away from lights was always my thing. But like, I was very good at getting away from that distraction. I would look at everything else differently. And if I didn't, and I can tell you this is straight through it, I wouldn't have been able to form to the level I did for so many years because, and I still think with certain guys, it hangs like something over their shoulders and they're not free enough then to play with their confidence or their ability they are, where I felt that, and I said this, I didn't grow up in Mayo. I didn't get the whole mythology around football.
Little known fact, you grew up in Cavan.
Grew up in Cavan. My mother's
We'll be getting into that.
Yeah. So football to me was a little bit alien for a lot of the time. Played rugby underage. So I feel that probably benefited me a little bit better. So I had the cry and the sulk after each All-Ireland. But after a week or so, something else to do. There's another game coming up. There's something to do at home. There's a load of distractions. And that's the way I kind of looked at life. Very simplistically. But if I got deep into thinking, Jesus, if we don't do this, or why did we not win that, or look at every play, I can tell you I didn't even watch replays of the All-Irelands because I didn't really
You didn't win any of them. Why would you be watching them?
But I can tell you many lads did to study where they could get better, to get back there. For me, no, it's clean slate.
And talk about self-flagellation, sitting down and watch and say, any of those deciders must be so painful.
They don't call it the house of pain for Mayo. So
where there's so many more places I want to go on the Mayo thing, and we will do that in the weeks to come, and we'll get one of Lee's adversaries and we'll get one of Lee's colleagues to come into us over the next few weeks. I can't wait for that. I have so many more questions I want to ask you.
The stress is already bestowed upon me.
Already see the sweat forming on the brow of Lee Keegan. Our first guest today, can't wait to speak to him. He's been a real character since he retired and while he was a player as well. Speaking as a journalist who was on the beat and not always in the commentary box in my early days, this guy would always chat to you and he'd always give you a little spit of something that maybe other players wouldn't give you. He always appeared relaxed around the media, and for that we loved him. But he's a proud Kerry man. He's a former All-Star. He's a 4-time All-Ireland medalist, and one of those was as captain. It's Darran O'Sullivan, and when I say Darran O'Sullivan to you, immediately what springs to mind immediately?
Obviously, flair player, brilliant guy. It's a league game in 16 that I marked there. And
that's where you're going.
Yeah, I know. And I got one of the best schoolings from probably a brilliant full forward that there ever was. And I would have been very always confident as a 1-on-1 defender, but Darran gave me one hell of a scutching that day. And it definitely was one that brought me on as a player, because maybe I got a little bit overconfident with American players, but Darran's speed, his power, and then he throws a bit of accuracy on top of it then. It was a great learning day for me. So I'm really looking forward to getting to him, even chatting to him backstage there. We nearly had to tell him to shut up because he had so many good stories to tell. So I'm looking forward to dive into his career, afterlife, club, all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting him on.
Right, well, let's get stuck into him. Darran O'Sullivan is up next. Okay, first Square Ball guest is former Kerry footballer Darran O'Sullivan. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me, boys.
You look nervous. Why?
Small bit. Lee is smiling at me. It's freaking me out. He never smiles at me.
I feel like I'm going to mark him again.
He mentioned that league game before you came in. I mean, it's a weird place to start when I think Darran O'Sullivan, I think All Ireland and Gianfranco Zola type goals in Croke Park, but he goes to a crappy old league game in Castlebar in the winter. What year was it?
16. Did you see
16. Did I see that game?
Yeah.
No.
You'd realise then if you watch it back.
Yeah, I was actually thinking on the way up, I'd say we didn't actually mark each other. I used to be on Higgins a good bit.
Keith was your go-to for you, yeah.
And I was in full forward that day, and I remember you came back, and I was there going, Jesus, he's a wing back. He wants to go the other way, but
So who are you on then? Because Keith Higgins would have been deemed at the time to be your best man marker. Is that fair? He was on James O'Donoghue in 2014,
he was probably our go-to guy for the first half of that group's go-to. But I'd say
was Keith not around that day?
Hurling, was he? He was actually, but Steve Rocher got this notion that he wanted to school a couple of the half-backs and make them full-backs to learn them how to defend a bit better. So the assumption was that Gooch was going to play full forward and Keith would mark you as a corner forward. So of course we seen Gooch at 11
and the big man in full forward. And I think of myself, I'm not sure what to think of this guy. I've seen him, but I can't remember marked him. Yeah, I remember that now, right? I think Tomas actually got a goal that day.
You set up the goal in the first half, yeah.
But yeah.
So you gave him a roasting.
I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't going to start the first.
You told me upstairs I got roasted. Sure, don't be lying.
Well, you've never been humbled before when talking about your career, Darran, so I don't know why you're starting now.
I'll get cocky as this podcast goes on. Maybe.
We'll open up.
Come here. You were first 12 years in London, living in London?
Yeah, first 12 years.
Soccer was the first love at the time.
Soccer, yeah, it was all soccer. I played with Tyrone Gaels, Donegal club. So played a good bit of football over and won a a couple of London and All Britain Championship over as well.
And in terms of the soccer, how good were you? Were you like been scouted or anything?
I would have been decent at a younger age. Yeah, I would have had a couple of trials. I was with QPR with their School of Excellence for 2 or 3 years or whatever. And I think before the '98 World Cup, I was over with to France before it with kind of district teams and stuff. So I did okay. Yeah, not saying I would have kicked on or anything like that, but it was good.
Was there anyone in terms of your peers at the time that went on to?
I couldn't tell you. I had a buddy that I went to school with, and he would have represented QPR, and he went on playing England under 16s, got himself into a bit of trouble.
You came out the right side, did you?
I think I was long gone at this stage. My calming influence was gone, and I think kind of went downhill. I think got a couple of injuries, played a bit of non-league, but.
And what was the connection then, England-wise, to back home then?
Or back to Kerry? My parents are Glimbe.
Okay.
My mother's parents had gone to London. It was a case of going over. But one of the fellas I played for, Tyrone Gaels, his father, Dennis O'Leary, Corkman, his son Stephen actually played for Luton for a couple of years actually. I remember, it was a League Cup game way back, and they played Liverpool and Anfield. They actually played that day as well. But,
did you come home with a Cockney accent then?
Oh, Eastender.
Really?
He still has it now. He never lost it.
It was funny, because my older sister stayed on because she was doing GCSEs or whatever exams were, I forget, and she'd still have a bit of it. But I'd say I lost mine within a week.
Back in Glimbe?
Yeah.
Were you been baited around the place? Like, was it
Probably
still difficult to fit in? Like?
Well, no, not really, because we would have come home every holiday. Even if it was a long weekend, we were home, and I would have been playing for Glimbe in the summers. Would have been a good man for cursing as well, and you'd never get away with it under 12s or under 10s because the accent stood out. Couldn't blame on anyone else, but kind of knocked it.
And when did you move full time back to Glenbeigh, age wise?
12, yeah.
12 years old, okay. Yeah.
98, 99, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think, 99.
And so 5 years later, you're playing in an All-Ireland minor final in Croke Park.
Yeah, so
And you lose to Tyrone.
Semi-final the year before came on against Laois. My dad had been training all year, just couldn't get into the squad. And I got on for the quarter-final match against Mayo. We played him in, I think it might have been Ennis actually. So came on that game, came on the semi-final against Laois. Then the following year kind of progressed, stepped up a level, became a bit more known, and got to a minor final, yeah.
Because I'd asked Lee, was he in Croke Park that day? Because obviously Mayo were in the senior final. And he said no. But I'm wondering, what is it like? Because look, all athletes are selfish. You've been beaten in the All-Ireland minor final. It's obviously the first of several deep wounds that Tyrone men are going to inflict on you over the next 6 or 7 years.
But
so you take.
I was starting nice and early.
Well, look, we haven't enough time for nice stuff.
But that Tyrone team, was that the same Tyrone team that kind of went on?
No, that was 04. So I actually went through that Tyrone team. Really, only Colin Kavanagh was the only player who really went on.
Raymond Mulgrew was the standout of that team as well. And he was he was unbelievable as a minor. Came into the seniors but never really kicked on.
What's it like though when you lose that final? Everyone else in Kerry gets over pretty quickly. You've got a senior final to come. You've only won one All-Ireland and 2 All-Irelands in the previous 17 years. So it's a massive deal. And you're kind of sulking, are you? You get winning, you get changed, and you have to go back out and sit in the stand then for the senior final.
Do you know what? I don't remember too much going in after. I remember just disappointment. I'd been fouled a good bit in the game, so I think I was getting a lot of pats on the back anyway, kind of, you did well in this and that and the other. And obviously then when the seniors won, you're kind of amongst them anyway, so there's a bit more of a feel-good factor, and you're kind of at a dinner table and the senior boys.
So you're at the banquet that night.
Yeah, and you kind of get over it quick enough.
It's a funny feeling, is that it's a strange one.
It is, but I think as a young lad, you're kind of thinking, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
You've had a taste for it now. You've got to Croke Park. Now you don't think you're going to be in there that quickly or whatever, but it is a case of you just move on.
Ours is the opposite. Would you believe in 13 our minors beat
Donegal,
Tyrone in the final, and we beat by Dublin. I'm sure. We were looking at those boys thinking,
you
go back in time.
You ruined their night. Their banquet was
over this side is the depression, and these boys are just so.
Yeah, no, it was it was an introduction for me. It was just a case of, I actually don't think it's a bad thing to lose a minor final. I don't think, obviously winning's great, but as a young lad,
grinds it fast.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you have to get on with it. And if you get success too early, maybe you get complacent, or maybe you think it's just going to keep happening naturally. Whereas when you get a setback like that, as a young fella, you just kind of...
Especially with the grade, because you're going 21 then, aren't you?
Yeah.
So therefore, like, there's a bit of work there between that transition from an 18-year-old guy going into now more
But
adults.
18 to 21 is a big jump as well. Like, and
But you pretty much went straight in. You
I
were in the
went
panel,
straight in,
senior
so-
panel 05.
yeah, I was doing my leaving cert, as most minors do. So I was there kind of going, concentrating on football. I'll repeat the leaving cert next year. Good plan that was. And my club, Glenbeigh-Glencar, we were in Division 5 in novice. And I remember we played a novice final and we won, beat Churchill. I think we won 2-5 to 8 or 9 points. And I got 2-4 or something. And I'd say it was that night I got a call from Jack to come in training.
That was Jack's second year?
That was Jack's
Won it
second.
04, didn't
yeah.
he? Yeah.
So
That's what I say it was a...
I thought it was a piss
Right,
take.
yeah, I
Like,
thought
I was
so,
like,
yeah.
and I got caught for them before after. But
Check
so-
out YouTube.
No, don't. But so they're actually training in the all-weather pitch beside my school. So of course took the day off school because I had to be ready for training. And it was just a bit surreal. Like, it was kind of going before Christmas. It was December. The boys were getting ready. I think they were getting ready to go on a team holiday, and I'm going in. And all the lads are there. The fellas said, "Not going to go start. Oh, they're your heroes." But they are, like, they're the fellas you're looking up to. They're all Ireland.
Yeah,
They're
I
all
agree.
household
Yeah,
names.
You were a cocky old devil, though.
I would have been.
Was there?
confident.
I wouldn't expect there to be kind of a sense of imposter syndrome on your behalf.
Do you know-
And I'm saying that in like in a positive way.
When I'm in it, I would have never thought it.
Yeah.
When you finish, you would think back. They're all big personalities,
That's the...
and you do feel inferior to them. And my thing is, I actually still have this feeling with intercounty. When you go in first, it's like doing an apprenticeship. You do what you're told, and you learn the ropes, because it's a different sport to club football. Different game altogether. You could be a great club player and just never cut it into county. So my thing was, go in, be a sponge, soak it up. If they say jump, how high? And like, you're not expecting to play games either at 18. Do you know, with the All-Ireland champions, it's a case of, if you get asked to do something, just do it.
That must have been good, because if you're going into a group like that, I find it difficult because sometimes they mightn't accept you as quick. Obviously, that group was good enough to take you in and let you be the sponge that you were. As in, like,
Yeah,
okay, you have the raw ability, but
It's funny. The group that I left when I finished, I think we're a much tighter group.
right.
I think there was a lot more. I think when I came in first, there probably would have been more cliques. Do you know, your individual
Is that because they
groups.
were a more mature group? Like you still had
Probably, and there's different
the
ages.
likes
Like,
of Darran O'Sullivan
yeah.
who's there, and like guys who've been there for quite a long time.
You're not going to have many 32 or 3-year-olds wanting to sit down and talk to an 18-year-old who's on about his geography exam coming up, or like, you know. So there was just different. I came out with Patrick Greedy straight from minor, so we had each other, and you kind of need someone like, even the likes of Gooch and Declan were 21, but they were already household names. Like, they were established stars. So it was a case of go in. I was probably as quiet as a mouse. I'd say I didn't open my mouth to anyone.
So
Like,
that's the first time, Darren.
I wasn't quite for that long. But I would have been, do you know, when I come out of self grand, but at the start it is a case of, unless you're brought into a conversation, I wasn't going to welcome myself into it. I wasn't going to invite myself into it. If I was brought in, I'd chat away or whatever, but it was more a case of just sit back and...
Did you feel, though, okay, you're young, you're with this group, the Gooch there, established, Declan Sullivan. Did you think you were ready yourself, though? Did you feel like, obviously you had the self-confidence there, but did you think you were going to get into that group or that starting team immediately, or did you think it was going to take a bit of time to...
I went in and Jack put me with the juniors. He used to get used to getting hit by seniors. So he put me in with them, and I remember him saying to me then, geez, I shouldn't have bothered doing that. Now you have to go off and play these games. And we got beaten, and I got brought straight back onto the squad for the Munster final. And before that, I was going well in training. Like, it's all football, really. Then there was 3-4 weeks between every game, and you'd be playing. I always remember I was corner forward, probably mixed teams or whatever, and I was either on Mark or Tom Sullivan, but they were the two cornerbacks. And I was there going, right. And the ball went into, I think it might have been Declan Quill or someone, and he didn't win it. And there was a couple of fucks thrown him or whatever else. And then another ball when he didn't win it. And my God, they went to town on him. And I just remember going, oh my God, if I don't win the ball, I'm going to get this abuse. And there was that fear then of making a mistake. But I was going well in training, and you were marking Tom Sullivan, Mark O'Shea, Mike McCarthy, Aidan Mahoney.
Absolutely.
Savagery.
And then you might get out the field and you'd be on Tomas, and you're like, oh, Seamus, mine, and you're like, oh, no, fuck. You couldn't get any tougher introduction to, like, no matter who you're playing, they weren't going to be as good as these boys in training. Yeah. And I would have been going well in training. And before the quarterfinal, we played Mayo, actually, I think it was. And Jack rang me. He goes, be ready. You'll be coming on this game. And we won comfortably. And I didn't get brought on. And he rings me after the game. He goes, look, you're going to be coming on, but there was no point bringing you on in that game. There was nothing to be gained from it. I was like, grand. So semi-final.
You haven't made your championship debut this
No. So we're playing Cork then in the semi-final. Be ready. The week before. Be ready, you're coming on.
Darren has the tracks on. I'm getting ready.
I'm ready to go, Jack. So we beat Cork comfortably, and I don't get brought on. And he rings me and goes, look, I had to keep such and such happy in this fella. You know, they'll be sulking and all this. Yeah, no bother. Grand. So plowing away train, still doing right. Come up to the final. Be ready. You'll be coming on. Oh, I will, yeah. And next time I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, what did I just say back? But he brought me on the final anyway, but it wasn't to be. But I just remember.
So your championship debut was an All-Ireland final defeat?
Yeah, you could have left out defeat, but yeah.
What's that like? Because you're looking for revenge for what happened in 03.
No, they are. I don't really, I wasn't involved, so I don't even remember revenge being talked about a whole pile.
But you're a young forward on the bench, and some of the clips are iconic now from that game. The hits, the swarm defence, the sheer physicality and suffocating nature of the way that Tyrone team played. And you haven't played at this level yet. You're sitting on the bench looking in going, Jesus, I hope he doesn't bring me on.
Pat's plan.
That might be the reaction of some people.
Every time I looked at Crow Park, all I saw was space.
Right.
And I just went, I'm faster than him. And I just went, just give me the ball. And that was it. When I was coming on, the game was spread. It was all spread out. And I was like, oh, look at the acres of space. I remember the first ball I got was up by the sideline, but I was so excited I actually fumbled it. I think I won a free. Gooch put it over, and we actually got a 45, and Pascal McConnell was in goal. And I went in, I had a lot more hair then as well, and it was blonde highlights, and it was kind of mohawked up, and he went in, he just put a big hand on top and squished it down. And I just remember looking up going, you prick. But I ended up getting a shot in the post then as well after, I think, Collie Holmes or someone. Brian Sheen had come on as well, so two young lads getting bait around the place late on the game. But no, I just, when I was coming on, I didn't have any fear. And I knew I was quicker than most anyway, so I was there going, and Crow Park suited me, and just the crowd as well, like, do you know when you're coming on and there's a sense of anticipation and the noise is just electric. Sure, where else would you want to be? And all of a sudden you're kind of going, like, I used to be brainwashing myself to go, you're the game changer. You're going to win the game. That's what he wants. You're who he's relying on to change the game. And that gave me confidence. But that only lasts so long. Like, you can only do it for so long. And when you finish your career, you kind of go, geez, if I threw the ties out of the pram a small bit, I would have been given a start.
That year, you think?
Not that year, but going on, because 5, 6, 7, 8, that was my role. Like, and I was there going.
So what was it like? This is going to sound harsh, but I'm going to say it anyway. When I think of you, I think of a supreme talent. He was brilliant at minor, and your CV has 4 All-Irelands. One of them as captain, load of Munster Championships, an All-Star. And I think you underachieved. I don't think you wrung the most out of your career. You never became the superstar. Like when people were talking about, oh, he's in the top 3 forwards in the country right now. You weren't on that list. But I always felt you could have been and you should have been. Am I being overly critical there?
I would elaborate a little. As a defender, we would have been fearful of Mark and Darren though. That's the other side too. Like, so yeah, maybe you can elaborate the underachievement side. But if we were a defender, Mark and Crow Park, do you know?
Like, it's funny, do you know, I would actually agree. I could sit here and go, like you said, name a few collective awards, and that was always the most important thing. But I definitely think, like I said, I came into a dressing room full of big personalities, and I definitely think there was an inferior complex. And obviously, like I said, I came in thinking you have to play a role. Kerry were winning All Ireland, and if we weren't winning, we were at the top table. So it's just hard to be arguing. And I always found it a bit disrespectful as well of everyone else to go, I should be on ahead of Lee, or I should be on ahead.
So were other lads doing that though?
Probably, yeah. Like that, like even Jack Reamy saying, I had to keep this fella happy. They knew I wouldn't. Even later in my career, when I probably did become a bit more selfish to that.
See, that's the excuse they give you because you probably accepted for so long.
Yeah,
so
and you're a young lad.
Yeah.
Like, I remember 06, we were going through a tough time. Declan got booed. And we lost to Cork. We got good beaten by Cork. And out of the 6-4s I started, and out of the 6-4 were taken off, myself and Gucci only two not taken off. So the next game, I'm starting, and Declan was left out. And
he's captain.
Yeah, and we played Longford. It was the start of Donaghy, and I put the first ball into him. And a minute before half time, I get whipped. And I'm there going, geez, I'm 19 or just gone 20, and I'm there going, this is mortifying. But it was a
Kerry
case.
were cat that day, weren't they?
Yeah,
Cat,
and but I was the easy option. I was a young lad, and it was a case of, oh, you look like you were getting tired.
Keep this guy happy.
Yeah. But like, I was there going, maybe I was just a soft touch as well at times. But I did feel appreciated by the team, and like the supporters, like coming off the bench would give you such a boost. But like, as I got older, like, and I had no nerves when I was younger either. So like, didn't matter what kind of game was coming on to knock serve. As I got older, and I think I became a better footballer, I got more nervous, which makes no sense. I don't. Maybe you know what's at
The
stake.
fearlessness of youth is gone.
Yeah.
As well, though, if you're not that type of personality that challenge back, they're going to single you out a little bit too. Like, so again, you probably became the easier option to say, Joe will break the bad news to Darren because he's not going to really bite back at us.
But that was the thing. Like, and like most fellas, you come on, you do well, you start. My thing was, come on, do well. Don't start him because I knew I could do.
It's super sub tag.
I knew I could do what no one else in the squad could do as well. I remember 08, Galvin got suspended, and I was working in the bank, and I got called for meeting with Pat Shea, and I said to my boss at the time, Justin, who was manager of the bank, I said, geez, Pat wants to meet me. He said, oh, he must be telling you, get ready, you're going to be starting. Got told, no, I wasn't going to be starting. More like got told I wouldn't be starting for the rest of the year. Like, and I was like, so no matter what I did, I need you in this role. And I was like, it's what you say, like, Joe.
Well, when I say to you that I think you underachieved, you didn't start enough games to be considered a true great.
Yeah.
But from your point of view, if you've played 45, 50 minutes of intense All-Ireland semi-final or senior final football, and then you still know that the quickest forward that Kerry have is still on the bench,
It's in the back of your head. You know it's coming.
and then you see him warming up, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Kevin McMillan.
Like, I've just had the legs run off me by a Declan
yeah.
O'Sullivan or a Gooch, and there's Darran O'Sullivan
So.
sitting like, that's the reason.
Yeah, and like, I actually did get that excuse later on in my career, when I was probably struggling, coming back from injuries, whatever, like, you won't last a full game. And I was like, my argument, yeah, but we'll have it won in 50 minutes, then you can take me off. And the next game I'll last 55. But it was a case of, yeah, but if we're not going well, we need an impact coming off the bench and the crowd. Do you know, you'll give the crowd and a bit of plum-mossing probably. Go. Yeah. And like I said, it wasn't in my nature to throw the ties out of the pram. Kerry was the bigger thing, but
was
it
Jack
was.
O'Connor the kind of manager that would like be swayed by someone giving him
not
guff
really,
about
like,
not
but I
starting?
suppose at the start I was young.
But it
he brought
sounds
me
to
in
me
at
like
18.
there was someone that was giving him that sort of grief.
Well,
Like,
you have to be elite players. If
Yeah,
you
but
don't
it's-
challenge
you have to keep the squad happy as well, like, because you have 35 lads in training, and one or two bad apples will bring the whole thing down. So bringing on a fella keeps him happy for a while, and he'll keep him going for the next one. But it also gives another fella who maybe didn't see a start coming or coming off, he got, well, man, bro, there's a chance for me as well. Like, he knew how to play the game, play the room. And like, the thing was as well with Kerry, then you had Gooch, Declan, Donaghy, Galvin. They were guarantees. Sheehan at that stage as well was like, even Freeze alone, he was going to be on, and Sheehan was a brilliant player as well, and he offered more than that, but like, you're there going, geez, your man's going to be kicking him from anywhere. So there was only one or two spots ever up for grabs, and it was a case of, right, if you start Darren, who's your impact coming off the bench? So like, I could always see the argument, didn't like it, but I definitely think, like, in terms of underachieving, I doubted myself a lot then as well because of it. Even though I was confident coming out, I knew my ability, but it was back in your mind going, maybe you're actually not able to start, because you couldn't do what I did for 20 minutes. I couldn't start the game and do that. You just physically couldn't do it. You blow up. So you have to adapt your game. And I would have felt I would have adapted my game and played a different way, but it would be a case of, but you're not doing this. Or Jesus Christ, I'm not going to be able to do that for 70. It's grand to do it for 15 minutes at the end of a game, but you're not going to do it for 70. So it was a case of, oh, well, if he's starting, he's not going to do what he does. You know, so, but then when I did get in there, from 09 to 13, I started, and I would have felt very confident. And then the injuries caught up after that.
And 9, you were captain.
9, I was captain, yeah, and I was
Because you mentioned Declan.
Yeah.
And our being booed. And he's the captain in 05 and 06 and 07. And he's not guaranteed a place in the team and he's still young. And it reminded me of what Paddy had said about the Kerry supporters all the way back about, the animals quote and all of that. Then that's you essentially 2.5 years later, you've been given the captaincy. And you're not guaranteed a place in the start 15 either. And are you thinking, I remember what happened to Declan. I remember what happened to Mike Hassett in 1997.
Yeah, well, I think Declan's thing was a bit different. First of all, Declan was, when I came in at 18, Declan was turning 21. Declan was already a man. Declan was a leader. Declan was established. He was the best leader I ever played under. And I played under a lot, but he just built different. Like he is just captain material. And 6, he was just going through a dip in form. He just wasn't playing well for a period. Like, we all know what player Declan was. Like, his attitude didn't change, his leadership ability. He just gone through a dip in form. But he dug deep. Jack stuck with him, and he got his form back. And 7 was different, and he played all the time. But like when I was made captain, I was 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'd been on the squad for just going into my 5th year. I was still young, but I had a lot of experience at that stage. I'd played in 4 All-Ireland finals. Since I'd made my debut, I'd played every championship game since then, whether starting or coming off the bench. But there was extra pressure, like, oh no, I don't want to be the sub, the captain sitting on the bench. Do you know? So there was a bit of that. And started the league, was playing quite well in the league. But then I got dropped for a Munster Championship game. Mark was made captain. And it was a case we weren't going great. And I was still the easy option, even though I was captain.
And this is the year that, like, the wheels have come off.
Yeah, we were going shocking. Like,
terrible
qualifier, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's all.
We won the league as well. Like,
that's right. Yeah,
we won the league.
But there's the controversy over were you up in Clonus, was it? And a few lads went in the sauce. They shouldn't have been going in the sauce, and then Gooch was dropped.
We lost the Munster Championship game to Cork. I think it was semi-final, and I was actually dropped for that game. I was left out. Mark was captain, and then we played Sligo in Tralee, and Murph saves a penalty from
David Kelly.
Yeah, really late, like, and
proper get out of jail job that time.
The boys went for a few points.
Few.
There was more that went as well, to be fair. And when they got asked, no, I was a good boy. I was like a captain. I was like a leader,
captain material right there.
But there was definitely a few other lads who went and were asked, "Did you go points?" No, they wouldn't lie straight in bed. They same fellas. But we played Antrim above in Tullamore. Got to start that game. Did okay. Do you know, actually before the game? Sorry, we played Longford as well.
Yeah,
we played Longford up there, and it was pissing rain. And I came on that game.
That was tight as well.
It was very tight. And I remember Jack rang me after, gave me a bollocking that I wasn't trying when I came on. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Do you think Jack was trying to do that deliberately?
No, he actually, because he rang me back maybe 2 hours, 3 hours later, or the next morning, goes, look, I'm sorry about that. I watched it back. You actually had more tackles than anyone else on the team. But it was a case of, because of the way the game was, I hadn't done what I normally do. Come off and he was doing nothing. But then he looked back, he goes, he actually tackled more than everyone else. So I think that, I'm trying to think, was that before or after the Sligo? I think it might have been after the Sligo. It was before the Sligo game. Sorry, we played Longford first, then
Sligo's up in...
No, we played Sligo in Tralee.
Yeah.
Like, how we got out of it, I don't know. But we played Antrim and Tullamore and got through. We played a bit better.
That the game the lads were dropped for then?
That was the game they were dropped for, and I was in ahead of Gooch probably.
So what's the atmosphere like?
Bit awkward.
In the build-up for that game?
We actually had a meeting beforehand, and I was called into the meeting. Obviously, there was a few senior players, kind of what we do with the boys.
So who was it? Was Gooch?
I don't think it was Adam. It was Mike Quirk was definitely involved in the meeting.
No, who was it that he was dropping?
Gooch and Tomas.
Right.
So they were left out for that game, and like the publicity around it,
it
was
incredible at
massive.
the time.
But like that, like I was saying about the big personalities, they were superstars. They're household names. Like, we had about 10 household names in our team. Like, they were known everywhere. They had all the deals and the cars and everything else. But we played okay in that game, got through it. But still, like, I'm not fully sure of my place. But next we were on the train down, and draws made Dublin. Giddy up, like, it sort of got, the whole thing just turned. Like, I think I got 3 points in the first half against Dublin in Croke Park, and it just clicked together.
That's one all-time great performance though.
Yeah,
you know,
we just
you look like a team that was just changed.
It was like you were waiting for something to get you motivated.
That's the start of the year week's game.
Yeah.
Did Dennis Bastick and Paddy Andrews start in the full back line then?
Yeah, I still give Paddy.
Who was marking you?
I did. Paddy Andrews.
Paddy was on Gooch, wasn't he?
He started, and then he came over to me, And I don't know where he went after that.
Well, he never went near the full back line again.
Yeah. To be fair, it was probably a good call. He went up forward after that. But yeah, so, and like we played Mead. The Mead game was funny actually, because before the game, I'm kind of sitting around the place with Gooch, whatever, and Jack comes over. He goes, "Oh, Gooch just grinds at him. If we get a penalty, will you take it?" I said, "Yeah, no, well, cocky out." Thinking, probably won't get a penalty anyway. I hadn't even touched the ball and we got a penalty. I slipped, kicked it from my left foot off my right down the middle. It went in, and I can't remember who's cornerback. He comes over and he goes, "Nice penalty." I started laughing. I was out. Found
2 foot.
Yeah, but I remember going back to Clarny that night. I think I got 1-1 or something in that game. I'm back to Clarny thinking, I'm getting pats in the back now. Captain 1-1. We got some abuse because everyone had Gooch for the first goal.
Oh, stop.
Yeah. But
can I go back to the Gooch and Tomas thing for a second, because it is fascinating, the whole story around it. How did they click then from low ebb, not low ebb, but like a kind of really awkward ebb, then you get to a quarterfinal and it just clicks? Like what's the dynamic between that to the quarterfinal?
There's you need to be a certain type of personality, I think, and nothing wouldn't knock a stir off the boys. I remember.
Yeah, but they pissed off though, because they were the scapegoats.
Yeah, they
were hung out to dry.
They were wrong as well though. So like at the end of the day, most fellas didn't go out. They went out, and they were probably a bit pissed off. But it's probably a good thing for the group as well when you have two of your better players been.
Yeah,
it's different if you make someone like me a scapegoat, who's not one of the big names, but you're sending a message to everyone else. Like Gooch is the best player in Ireland. Tomas is one of the best players in Ireland. Lads, we stepped out of line.
You're punished.
Yeah. And like that's the way it was. And it was a case of we have enough good players to come in and do a job. And I just think that things were going so bad at the time that if they didn't get punished, we wouldn't have turned it around.
You can tell by Gooch's reaction to the goal against Dublin, though. That's the moment.
It's game over. It's after about 3-4 minutes. It's
game over, but there's the expression on that
yeah,
whatever happened is gone, and now I'm back.
Yeah.
And so,
but that's the way it always was as well. Once it was done and done, once you deal with it, it's over. There's no hanging on. Like I always said, like the best players I played with were right thick men, and it's a compliment. They just take out, get on with the job. You say something to me, right? We'll have it out, but then we're done. You're done. You're over it. Get over it. Be a man about it.
Yeah,
and that's the way it was. Like,
so you didn't win another All Ireland then until 2014. There was obviously some dark days. 2011, obviously, you'll feel is the one that got away. Down coaches in the hop in 2010. Donegal did what they did to Cork and Mayo to you guys in 2012. 13 was one of the all-time great All Ireland semi-finals. But I wanted to ask you about Tyrone.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you weren't there in 03, but you came off the bench for your debut 05. You were there in 08. And it's unusually, the one that sticks out for me is the 2012 game. The qualifier in Killarney. Blistering sunshine, as it always seems to be in championship fair down during the summer at Killarney. Tyrone come down, let's face it, like they're a shell of the team that won the 3 All-Irelands. And my abiding memory of that is thousands of Kerry fans queuing for Mickey Hart's autograph after the game, and you guys celebrating like you had won Sam. And watching it going, this is Kerry. Like, what the?
He's smiling because he knows.
What are they doing?
This is one of the ones you look back and go, jeez, what were we
doing?
Yeah.
Do you know what? Sometimes, like,
it's a qualifier.
I know. Stop going
against
on about
a team that had been a team that had been schooled by Dublin in the quarterfinal the previous year. Dermot Connolly running riot.
But do you know what? Sometimes certain teams form goes out the window. There's a different narrative. There's a nastiness to it. And like I actually always did okay against Tyrone, to be honest. I always liked playing him, which was weird because rarely beat him, but I always felt that I would have played quite well.
Never beat them.
All right, relax. We did in 12.
Qualifier.
A lot of league games. But yeah, there was so much. Like, I think you kind of feed off the emotion of the crowd as well. Now, it was an overreaction. It was, and like you look back and go, "Geez, what the fuck were we at?" But it's one of them ones you
I'd say there's so much emotion built up for years.
And all of a sudden it's happening around you. You don't really know how to get out of it. You're kind of just in it.
Yeah.
I know, in fairness, few fellas, like we did a good bit of slagging after as well, and like
Paul Galvin up on someone's shoulders and in tears after the.
No, to be fair, I don't think he asked to go up on your man's shoulders, but he did get it doing in the dressing room. I think there was diapers and doilies hanging from his locker. But he used to be our kit man, and he used to look after stuff. And but you knock a bit of crack off it as well. It gets a bit of mileage for a week or two, and kind of takes a mood down. But like it wasn't an overreaction. But I suppose for the boys that had been 3, 5, and 8 big defeats, like where could have like definitely think we left 8 behind us. Like I definitely should have started that game.
And so you left 8 behind you.
I thought so, yeah.
Why?
Just thought we were a better team. I think.
So you like, are you looking at the team starting, or you look at the performance of the team, or
just a bit of both, like performance.
Okay.
I came on a half time in that game.
The Twin Towers thing cost you your place because you
No,
wanted
I
to play
should have
Tommy and Donaghy together.
Yeah, no, I could have been wing forward that day. No, I'd done well in all the games going up to, and I'd been moving well in training. But it was a case of my role was impact sub, but I was there going, no, like I knew I could do well against Tyrone. I knew I had the pace. I knew they didn't have anyone like. And I used to always, you know, it's funny, when I retired, most of the nicest comments I got were off Tyrone people. Most of them were like, "Oh, I used to hate you," and that was a great compliment.
Yeah.
But that was what it was, and I knew that, and I was there going, I always do all right against Tyrone. Like there's nobody there, but it was a case of that was a role. So I came on at half time, but I just think we underperformed in that game, and we could have mixed it up a bit.
Yeah, Tyrone looked like a team ready for what you threw
Yeah.
at them, and they look comfortable with it too. Do you know?
The more physical it was,
The better
it was.
yeah.
Whereas if you make the pitch bigger, obviously, and make it more elusive and more off the cuff,
Better for you.
yeah. There are less structure to it. So
They had a real reputation, Tyrone. I don't know how merited it is for extracurricular activities during games, that Tyrone team.
I never got it, to be honest.
Did you hear of stuff like the
you'd
nipple
hear-
pinching and the...
Yeah,
this, was it...
You get pinching.
But the whole, there was a mobile phone number involved, was there one day?
Oh, I don't know. Like, you'd hear stories. I'd hear the stories a year later.
Okay.
Do you know, you wouldn't hear much in the dressing room. But I always find back then, you could make a team really intimidating because there was no social media. You didn't know what fellas do.
Yeah.
Like, I had this image that all the boys were grave diggers or some fucking thing, and they had big beards, and you know, they're all scary jobs. And I was like, but there, it was, you could build up an aura around the team because you didn't really know them. Whereas now you know through social media.
That Armagh team from 02 had a similar aura. built
Yeah, and like
around
that,
it,
they were the first to get the tight jerseys, and all of a sudden go, Jesus Christ.
Big
so-
lads coming in there, aggression.
So like, it's a lot harder to build that reputation.
As well, though, every player knows each other a bit better.
Yeah, everyone knows each
Through
other.
events
and
and
you
through-
college even now, and you know, it's just a bit more open.
Were
Whereas,
you lads too soft, though, to beat that Tyrone team?
do you know what I actually think it was?
Jeez, Steve.
I know, yeah.
Well,
Thanks for
you
the invite, lads.
3 cracks at them, like.
Yeah.
Do you know what there's not, like, people say, I have no regrets. Everyone has some regrets, because unless you're Brian Fenton, you hardly lost a game, you're going to have some regret. But Jack tried to bring in sports science or psychology, and it was kind of laughed out the door because we were doing okay.
So he brought that in 08, or was this?
5 or 6.
Yeah, okay,
Like he was
right.
he was trying to get it in there, and he was. Even me myself now, I think, geez, if I bought into that earlier, you know, mindset wise, like, because I'd always go talent wise, could, like, you know, maybe if I had a bit more assurance, just never bought into it. And even in my latter years, I probably should have bought into it a bit more. And I definitely think something like that, hindsight.
Well, I think there's a culture as well, Darren, around that,
Yeah.
because we obviously, in our decade then, it became a huge thing. And I remember the early days, we were very receptive to it because, you know, you're a male, you're macho, you want to be the man type thing, and I don't need help. Where if you'd taken on a bit more, and I was probably saying it does help, like, you know.
Oh, it has to help. Like, do you know, like I always say, it doesn't matter how good you are at anything, even if it's at work, whatever. Everyone likes a pat in the back. Everyone likes a bit of reinforcement, and sometimes you just need to be told, "Geez, you're a great man," or "You're a great player." Jesus, they want just a little build up. You might know it yourself, but you need someone else to tell you at times, and sometimes that's all it was, or someone to break it down and just word it differently that us in a GA probably didn't have the vocabulary to do, to break it down into different things. So I always think of that kind of going.
It was new to you as well.
It was
very
new, and like
so.
we had older fellas, even the younger fellas, it was a case of monkey see, monkey do. If such and such isn't doing it, I'm not doing it. And it was that bit of mental weakness to go, do you know what? I'll try it. So I do have a bit of regret like that if you bought into it, and who knows, mightn't have changed anything, but it could have.
Yeah.
And I definitely think for me, like, because like around about the big personalities, I definitely would have, even though I had confidence when I was on the pitch, I probably would have had a bit of inferiority towards certain fellas, thinking, oh, he's a bigger name than me, or I don't know, maybe it was the fact that I was seen as impact sub that it definitely affected my. Probably had doubts. I go, maybe I can't do it over 70 minutes, even though I would have said I'm definitely good enough to be on this team, or such and such ahead of me.
That's why I think captaincy in 09 for you must have been not a tough gig, but even
there is that extra pressure. But
Yeah.
Jack, in fairness, got on, like, let's say from quarterfinal onward, league was fine, grand, left out, and it's a bit of the. And I was working in the bank, and Michael Fennelly was in the exact same position in Kilkenny.
Yeah.
And good mates then, still very good mates now. But I got into the team, and I remember coming up to the final. We had a few injuries, and fellas were coming back, and Jack rang me about 2 weeks before the final, and he goes, "Look, I want you to enjoy the build-up. Don't worry about it. You're going to be on." And I just remember going, "Oh, thanks."
Do you remember seeing his name pop up on the phone for that
Yeah,
phone call? Were
and
you
going,
thinking the worst?
Oh, holy.
give it to Fennelly.
Yeah. Anybody. Tell him I'm not here. But
I'm lodging money.
yeah, it was a case of going, Jesus. Yeah, I remember that, but it was just such a relief. Like,
That just cleared the way for you then to concentrate on your own game.
Yeah, just
get the speech written.
football was easy. It's your brain. Like, and the speech bit was funny actually, because you're there going, I need to practice. Like, I didn't do Irish in school because I came over at 12 and I got a choice, do Irish or don't. And the boys were like, don't do it. And I was like, holy shit, now I have to do a speech. I have to start in Irish and all this. So I remember the morning of the game actually writing it out. I roomed with Gooch, and Gooch said, "What are you at?" I was like, "Nothing."
I'm surprised Gooch
I
is
did.
awake.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
good man for napping, all right. But I remember coming off, the game was more or less won, and I came off, and Ty Kennelly's beside me, and I think Dara's beside him. And Ty was like, "What's the Irish like?" And I was like, "Geez, I don't know." He goes, "Rattle it off." So I'm actually saying the speech with a couple of minutes to go to Ty. And just before I go up to do the speech, Mark actually stands beside me, and Mark goes, "Look, if you lose
You're rehearsing your speech on the pitch.
on this bench, I just come off."
Some position to be in, isn't it?
Suppose you were giving Cork an awful trimming. So
Yeah,
you
we were
like-
we were well up. The game
you
was
were
won,
ready to
like, and
rock.
Ty was there going, "How are you set?" And I was there, "Jeez, I don't know, like the nerve." Like, I was there, I was 22 when I was made captain, so I was still only a kid. Very, like, it's funny, I was chatting to someone, you do grow up very quickly in a dressing room, you know, when you get into a Kerry or a Mayo dressing room or whatever, because you have to carry yourself a certain way when you're out and about. But once you're in the dressing room, it's the most childish place in the world. So you go from acting like a 6-year-old to trying to be way more mature than you actually are. But public speaking was hard. Like, I remember my speech for league was crappy, and I think I got one of those few, gave a bit of a cut off me in the media, kind of go, "What much of a speech," or whatever. But like, I was there as a league, and you know, I wasn't going to get too up over it. But Mark stood beside me for the All Ireland one. He was like, "If you lose track yourself, I'll nudge you." And I just remember going, "Yeah, I'm not trusting Mark. No way." But
That's the setup if I ever came across one.
yeah. So but yeah, like, it does it. Like, I maintain being put in that position. You have to do the media at a young age. Like, we wouldn't have had a lot of social media either at the time.
That's right,
Do you know, you're not as, it's not as available to you. You don't. I would have grown an awful lot as a person. Personally, even professionally, like, just being able to speak properly. Do you know, once you've spoken in front of however many thousand, you can speak in front of anyone.
The millions watching across the world.
Yeah, do you know? But that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
Football was easy. Like, once you got on the pitch, it was easy. But like, the hard bit was getting to the pitch.
I always thought the same. Hard, but it's always outside. It's the trying to keep everything in house from family, friends. You don't want to meet people. You don't want to be out in public. And then when you get into, I always call it the playground. That's where you just open up.
And that they even get into training, and you're looking around, and you're looking at all these players. So you named out the 4 stars in the forge icon. But then there's other players who are unbelievable. They're going, "Geez, man's going well." You're overthinking everything. And every training was so intense. Like, going home, tongue hanging out of the mouth, and going, "Jesus." But that's just the way it was. It was so intense back then. Like, and like I was naming out backs there, like, you could be on the B team, you're like, "Oh, Jesus." And then you get on the A team, you're like, "Oh, I'm still marking." It could be anyone. It could be Ed Mann. It could be Killian Young. It could be, do you know, Patrick Reedy, who knew my game.
All-star defenders.
Yeah. And I was there going, "Jesus Christ, would someone give me a handy tonight there to get the confidence up?"
3 points. That's all I need.
Yeah. But the thing with Mark was he could kick the 3 points.
Yeah. But I think that, again, I go back to, I think that's a brilliant thing for you, or a forward, or even a defender, if that you're marking that quality every night. You come against opposition, it's not near that standard they're ever going to get
It's
to.
not as intimidating. You're kind of going,
Yeah, I've done this.
"I've done this. I did this last night." You confidence going into games, so it's Like, you never really doubted. I rarely doubted my footballing ability, but my ability to start, and because of different bigger personalities than me, that's probably where I fell down mentally. I probably wasn't strong enough at times, like, and definitely after the hip, just when confidence was.
So that's 9. So you moved to 11. So it's it hip start after 11.
11 was a funny year in terms of played well with Kerry, whatever, killer losing the All Ireland, but get to a county championship final, and actually it's the same week that Ireland going to Australia for the Aussie rules, so I'm supposed to be going on that. So I pull out of that, which is a bit of a regret as well, because I always wanted to do it.
Good crack.
Yeah. Do you know what? Finney and Hanley was in the bank as well, and Donaghy, and the boys used to be ringing me from Australia. I was working for the bank, and the bank, I was doing a gig in Dublin at the time with the bank doing stuff, and they're like, you might write about it for us. I was like, sound, I can't go, so now I have to write about it. But the boys, there was a couple of injuries, but they won the first set, and the lads in fairness were trying to get me on the flight to get out, but I didn't anyway. But we played the county final, lost to Crokes, and I was like, this is a crap year altogether. So form was good, but lost an All Ireland, lost a county title. But then the club won their first mid-Kerry championship, which to people outside of Kerry's tiny, but the club hadn't won in 36 years, so ended up being a decent year. But after that, I just think the year was so long, and by the time you finish, you're back in again. And it was actually 12 was the first time I started picking up these little nicks, and I got the nick going into the Tyrone game. We had Westmead the following week, and I actually had the nick going into it. Came on, we were playing badly, got a goal, nicked it even further. After getting the goal, came out, and Gooch was looking around, and I said, my hammer's gone. He goes, don't care, you can't go off. And I was like, okay. Like, Gooch said that I'm not going off, but I lasted another, came off again that game. And then we played Donegal, and I started on the bench in that game again, but came on, it might have came on the first half for Killian, actually. Came on wing back, because Mark McHugh used to just go back. But yeah, that was kind of the start of the hamstrings, I'd say. But I'd say it all came from a couple of years, and the season in Kerry was just starting December, January. You were going till September.
But then there's...
And then you have all the club.
County championships.
Yeah,
there's
so by the time you
divisional
finish,
championships.
Kerry are back, like.
But none of us outside of Kerry can ever figure out, like, you need a degree to figure out exactly what the structural system is.
Very simple.
It's
very simple, lads. I don't understand. I just don't.
Look, there were so many other places we wanted to go with today, but I knew time was going to be an issue as we got towards the end of it. So I want to ask you two really quick ones. One of the most memorable days of my commentary career is the Gaelic Rounds 2014 All-Ireland semi-final replay. It was the most suffocating atmosphere I've ever worked in. I couldn't breathe in the TV gantry. I can't imagine what it was like at the pitch. Like, it was about 30 degrees.
I can't either. It was that first game in Croke Park was the first championship game I'd ever missed for Kerry.
And people think you were riddled with injuries. You went 10 years without missing a championship.
10 years without missing a championship game, yeah.
Wow.
The hip surgery goosed me. Like, bit of mismanagement. It was new. Bit of, like, the medical wasn't. We just didn't have as much info back then. But a lot of it was down to me as well. Like, kind of doing the same thing. It was very hard. You know, when you're trying to play catch up, it's very hard to say I need a night off, or I need to do a bike session, or it just mentality didn't have to.
You're still been asked to train in the same way as everybody else,
and my body
despite the fact that your hips just didn't up to it.
Surgery in 14. Surgery in the end of 13. By the time I finished, I was still trying to do the same training, and it was a time
That's insane.
It's breaking down, I'd say, constantly.
Yeah, I think it's the 14.
We're not talking about the 1970s here, Darren.
I know, but like the same year.
How was that allowed to go on in the mid 2010s?
There were little nicks, little strain, little grade 1. But it was back in the day of, do you know when they used the box games? I hate them. But they used to kill me. Like,
come to Donny Berkeley's ones.
Yeah, he was in with us for them.
Sorry, Donny.
Yeah. But they were so intense. Like, they were great trainers, but my body couldn't do it. So you could do 15, 20 minutes of that and then go into football. But by the time we finished, I could hardly stand up straight. My hips were gone. Like, and I think I was on the A team for the majority of the AVBs that year, and I'd always get a little nick the week before. Not enough to rule you out, but just about able to come on. And then before the Mayo one, I got a bit of a worse nick, but I was getting treated for a grade 1 tear or a strain, but it was actually a tendon I'd torn. So I missed the Mayo game.
The drawn game in Croker.
Both of them.
Both,
Yeah, I didn't even.
Yeah, because I remember that.
Yeah, and everyone
So you're on the bench watching on
watching
this
on,
day.
and it was Mikey actually. Mikey Sheehy came up to me after the game and he goes, "Get up to Century tomorrow. Just go up on your own, get it sorted." And I went up and I found out I had a attendance. I remember burst my arse, get back for the final, and I got back for the AVB before the final, and Enright, the raw man, there was a ball and I'm sprinting for it and he's behind me and he gives me a nudge just so we get to the sideline and I flick it back behind me off him, so it goes out off him, but the nudge, there's steps down in Fisher Stadium, so I have to jump and I crash face first into the gate, and they've recorded, I have it somewhere, and I splatter into this thing and I land on the ground and all you can hear after, because they're recording the training, is I'm dead, like my face is all, I have a cut across my nose for the All-Ireland final, cuts here.
They're talking about intimidation. Tyrone, our man,
This is
Darran O'Sullivan comes into the
yeah, and I wouldn't mind. Enright takes the sideline ball, then he goes, "Is my ball high?" And takes it, and I was there on the ground, nearly dead, going, or some bollocks. But I just couldn't get back. I didn't play in the 2 games, didn't come on the final either. Like, so 14 for a lot of our boys is the biggest All-Ireland, because obviously, but like for me, and Kieran Leary taking over the captaincy from Gooch, and Kieran's my best mate and my small one, he's the godfather, he was my
Another
best
Kerry
man.
captain who wasn't guaranteed to start.
Yeah, well, that captaincy came, Gooch did the cruise ship.
Yeah.
Castlebar,
Club game, and then Gooch and Leary got it, and obviously went on to Fionn got it. So like it's a funny one, 14 for me. Obviously I was delighted Leary got to go up and collect it, but I wasn't playing, like, and I remember just going, jeez.
I must say the celebration, that I know we're talking about celebration, he celebrated that game like I never seen before.
The 14
the after.
But it was just, do you know what it was? It was a great, like, the atmosphere there was
electric,
unbelievable, and you're there looking at that atmosphere. Who was playing? Was it a concert or something on in Croke Park?
There's a college football game. Yeah.
You were there going, that's what they should be doing to bring the energy back in the GA now. Like,
agreed.
Fill up the stadiums that are slightly smaller, and if you can't get a ticket, so be it.
Yeah.
It
was electric. It was
unbelievable, and it's a killer to miss that kind of game, like, and
all the stuff that went down with the two boys running into each other, and there's a Mayo fan fighting with, trying to get onto the pitch, and his daughter begging him to leave the field, and
like, it had everything.
Henley with a chance to win it, and
at the death, and he actually moved it 2 yards further.
It was incredible. We'll dig deeper into that game in the weeks to come, when maybe Darren isn't here.
I don't like. Can he be here and I can go?
One final question. We talked about, this is around about the time where I called you an underachiever.
Yeah, so
that you were one of the great white hopes amongst the brilliant forwards in Kerry, but there's so much expected. You've come straight from minor, and then Jack's brought you in the following year. Talk to me about how you see David Clifford and the fact that he has been able to go from the minor ranks where it was almost unfair that he was allowed play. I remember watching those All-Ireland finals where he's scoring 3-4 and you're thinking, this is ridiculous. And his first year is 2018 with that unbelievable goal in Clones, where he had like a postage stamp in which to stick the ball. And he has won an All-Star in all bar one of his 6 years. It's astonishing. How has he managed to continue? And he's lost his mother, and he's won all those games with his club and the county titles with East Kerry, and yet almost never, until maybe this summer, his performance levels just don't seem to drop. All the pressure and expectation.
I suppose he came into a team as well that was on the way down. So that might have actually helped him.
Okay.
He didn't have as many. Maybe he might have helped him if he had a bit more superstars around him. But I suppose we were on the way out and whatever, we weren't playing well. But the one thing I'd say about him is, it's a lot of everything's mentality. But in terms of his, like, he's never lost that kind of boyish thing, mad for ball. Just wants the ball, enjoys the ball, doesn't get fazed about stuff, knows how good he is, but just a very steady, solid guy. You get asked about him all the time, whether it's a podcast, whatever it is, and I kind of go, geez, I have to stop talking about it. It's like I have a crush on him. But I am amazed by him. His level of consistency, and it's the way he carries himself. Like, you'd see him, he gets interviewed after a win or defeat, he's able to bring himself straight down.
Such an even keel temperament.
There's a level of maturity there. But there is, I hate all the comparisons anyway. I hate, who was the best of this, who was best.
Yeah. You're comparing different eras and types of players.
But the one thing I always say when people are about Gooch and this, I say Gooch made everyone around him better. He always made him better. The current team need to allow David to make them better by not leaving him on his own as much. It's very much a case of kick it to David and leave him do his thing. Too often.
When someone's that good, though, it's
it
easy
is
to
hard,
become reliant on them.
Gooch was that good. He was. Like, Kerry, I was going to say lucky, but blessed is probably. We had Mikey Sheehy. Mikey finished with Morris Fitz. Morris finished. We got Gooch. Gooch finished. We got.
Yeah.
There will be another David Clifford.
But Gooch had Declan O'Sullivan, Darragh Canadja, and Paul Galvin, and yourself.
Oh, yeah, he did, yeah.
And Donaghy. And
So, but then are you saying that the Sean O'Shea, David Clifford's are not helping David enough, do you think? Or,
well, I don't know. I'm not educated enough in these matters to kind of...
No,
because I rate him as...
Look, we're lucky in Kerry at the moment. You've David, Paddy and Shawnee, 3 superstars.
Yeah.
But like, I just think there is too much expected of David sometimes. Like,
if David pulls up in training tonight, do Kerry have a chance of winning the All-Ireland?
They have a chance because I don't think there's that many standout teams. But like, I've just never seen a case of, geez, you had a good game there because David only kicked 4 points from player. Like, I need to kick 4 points. If I kick 4 points, I'd expect to be man of the match. Do you know?
But that's the level.
That's
he's
the level.
Got to, yeah.
And I think there is a bit of, he is that good that people are kind of, they're unrealistic. Like even the All-Ireland talk last year.
Crazy.
It was a defensive game. He got X amount of possessions. He worked, I don't know how many shots he had in the game. And to be fair, on another day, he gets them. And all of a sudden they're saying, oh, he gave Fitzsimons a hosing. But because whatever, he lashed at a few and they didn't go over, it's a case of, oh, he was in. And I'm going, Jesus, this guy in a game that was quite defensive by both teams.
That was a dirty enough day, a bit of rains.
And I was like going, jeez, I can't remember. He was involved in like half of Kerry's scores the same day. And I'm there going, like there is a bit of that. And I'm there going, like, sometimes you just have to leave the fella play. And even who was the best ever, and you say, oh, David's up there, and you're comparing him with Peter Canavan and fellas who have gone. Like, I'm there going, just leave him play. Like, he is unbelievable, and like we're lucky to have him. But it's just his mentality. There's no, like, you meet him on the street and he'll start talking about county league. Do you know? He loves football. Yeah. He hasn't lost that, and I hope he doesn't. And the only way he does is if people kind of annoy him and stuff like that. But he still has just a massive interest in football. I'd say give him a ball, he'll go down to the Fossett pitch and be kicking away all day.
You can see that with the club though. You see his love when he plays with Fossett.
You pass the pitch, you see the car there.
Yeah, so.
And you clearly still haven't lost your love for football either, Darren. It's just been amazing. Brilliant chat. Thanks for being so honest, and a lot of pressure on you coming in alongside Liam in the first Square Ball guest. You've handled it well.
I know the pressure's on. Well, you told me we were going to go harder on Lee, but
that's to come. That's to come.
I got that, don't worry.
No, thanks for having me.
Darran O'Sullivan, thanks so much.
Brilliant, Darren. Thank you.
Always.
So that was Darran O'Sullivan, top man.
We could end the hour.
Easy.
Yeah, very interesting.
Those early days when Jack O'Connor's using him as this fall guy / scapegoat. So, you know, going to bring you on, didn't bring you on, have to keep the squad happy. You'll get on the next day. I mean, he must have been bulling at the time, knowing how good he was.
Yeah, but even the way he described it, he kind of took it. And what I found fascinating is that he always felt it was for the betterment of the group. And I think maybe that's why he maybe doesn't look at the medal and the way he could do and what he's achieved. But from, I suppose, someone that would have watched him for years, he was still an out-and-out fantastic footballer. But just fascinating to hear him tell that kind of story and why he was used as potentially the fall guy.
So what a start. Darran O'Sullivan was brilliant. We're going to be back next week. Do get in touch with us, especially if you think there's a guest that you'd like to hear from over the next few weeks, over the course of the summer. We will be with you here on the Square Ball. You can subscribe and review the show on YouTube. You can check us out on Instagram and X, the William Hill Ireland accounts. And you can also drop us an email if you want. It's hello@thesquareball.ie. We'd love to hear from you. And we will be back with you next week for more Square Ball chat.